Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines and Secretary of the Department of Education, Honorable Sara Z. Duterte. Let's remain standing for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem, to be followed by a prayer.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
O God, creator of the heaven and the universe, you are worthy of our praises. In you alone we pray and submit ourselves, for we are nothing without you. We humbly ask for your forgiveness and mercy. Dear Lord, we gather here today with the intent of doing good in thy name. Guide us to the right path. May our efforts be blessed with insights, understanding, wisdom, and respect for all. May our deep faith in you give us strength to act honestly and well in all matters before us. Amen.
Please be seated. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the International Day of Education 2024 Forum and Side Events. The United Nations General Assembly proclaimed January 24 each year as International Day of Education, or IDE, in celebration of the role of education for peace and development. Without inclusive and equitable quality education and lifelong opportunities for all, countries will not succeed in achieving gender equality and breaking the cycle of poverty that is leaving millions of children and youth and adults behind. To officially start today's event, may we call on the Undersecretary for Curriculum and Teaching, Yusek Gina O. Gonong, to give us a welcome message.
To our Vice President and Secretary of Education, Ma'am, Excellencies from the Royal Thai Embassy, Ambassador Tul Trisurat, Her Excellency, I need my glasses, sorry, Megawati Manan, His Excellency Sonsai Vanachai, His Excellency Gustavo Gonzalez, His Excellency Ryan Washburn, Ms. Maria Almuela from the Foreign Affairs Department, our education partners and esteemed guests, colleagues and friends, a pleasant morning to all of you. We celebrate today the 5th year of the International Day of Education, with its beginning in 2019 by virtue of a declaration by the United Nations General Assembly. The day highlights the importance of education for peace and development and the promotion of inclusive, quality education for all. This day coincides with the adoption of the Sustainable Development Goals, including SDG 4, which focuses on ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education for all. This year's IDE, or International Day of Education event, in partnership with ABC Plus, Advancing Basic Education in the Philippines, will feature various sub-themes. The IDE 2024 Forum, which happens today, serves as a call to action, urging individuals, civil society, and policymakers to take concrete steps towards ensuring that primary and secondary education is accessible to all children and enhancing youth engagement in education. The IDE 2024 side events happening in the next 2 days will engage stakeholders and educators in collaborative partnerships for the improvement of education. This year's theme, Education in the Transformative Times, Making Early Grade Learning Contribute to Lasting Peace, urges us to strengthen efforts in early grade education, making it contribute to lasting peace. The Department of Education, under the leadership of our Vice President, Sara Z. Duterte, is strongly pursuing reforms in early grade learning and in peace education. We are taking steps in the right direction. Your presence here today is a testament to the unity of our purpose. Our collective commitment can make an impact on our educational landscape, particularly in early grades. And to be successful, we need teachers and parents. They are absolutely essential in the education of our learners. In closing, let me share a piece of what our national hero, Jose Rizal, wrote in one of his essays. I'll read it in Filipino. Kung walang edukasyon at kalayaan, na siyang lupa at araw ng tao, walang pagbabagong posible, walang hakbang na magbibigay ng inaasam. Without education and liberty, which are the soil and the sun of man, no reform is possible. No measure can give the result desired. Today, as we celebrate the International Day of Education, let's be reminded of the power that we have to make the lives of our fellow Filipinos, our children, especially the marginalized learners, better through education. Maraming salamat po at magandang umaga sa inyong lahat.
Thank you very much, Undersecretary Gonong. Every year, the Department of Education celebrates the International Day of Education. This is attended by various educators and stakeholders within and outside the department. For this year's IDE, the theme is Education in the Transformative Times, Making Early Grade Learning Contribute to Lasting Peace. So now, to give his celebratory message, let us all welcome Mr. Ryan Washburn, Mission Director for USAID Philippines, Pacific Islands, and Mongolia.
Your Excellency, Vice President of the Philippines and Secretary of the Department of Education, Sara Duterte, officials of the Department of Education, business leaders, education stakeholders, distinguished guests, friends, and partners, good morning. On behalf of the U.S. Embassy, I bring you the greetings of the U.S. Ambassador Mary Kay Carlson. It's a great pleasure to join you here today at this very important gathering of education champions united toward the common goal of strengthening the quality of education right here in the Philippines. As the lead U.S. government agency that provides development and humanitarian assistance around the world, the United States Agency for International Development, or USAID, works to reduce global poverty, strengthen democratic governance, and support partner countries on their path to sustainable development. As we all know, education is a great equalizer that prepares us individually and collectively to confront society's challenges and rapid changes. Education is transformational. It empowers individuals, fosters critical thinking, and trains learners to apply knowledge to solve complex problems. In the Philippines and in the broader Indo-Pacific region, education is also key to accelerating inclusive economic growth and advancing peace and prosperity. USAID recognizes the critical responsibility that Department of Education has in ensuring access to quality education services for all learners in the Philippines. We applaud DepEd's unwavering commitment to align its goals with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, particularly Goal 4, which promotes inclusive and high-quality education. The U.S. government, through USAID, has been collaborating with DepEd to strengthen educational systems and bolster the capacity of partners to support education reforms in the country. Through our partnership with DepEd, we continue to increase access to developmentally appropriate learning materials for learners. We are working with DepEd and other education partners to make quality education available to every child, including children with disabilities. In fact, USAID, through our ABC Plus project, has provided 2.7 billion pesos to strengthen foundational learning that lays the groundwork for children's future academic, social, and economic success. We are pleased that our interventions have led to additional investments from other key stakeholders. For example, the Education Sector Mechanism, or ESM, is a model designed to enhance decentralized planning and finance for early grade education. Using the ESM model, Mayor Crisel Lagman of Tabaco City, Albay, has prioritized resources for early grade learning. These funds have been instrumental in providing essential learning materials, including tablets and even a television set for each K-3 classroom in Tabaco City. These also contributed to the construction of state-of-the-art classrooms, particularly for schools severely affected by natural disasters. Our work in USAID project sites has also led to learning improvements, most importantly. Assessments in Western Visayas and Bicol provinces have shown that 30% of early grade learners at the start of the 2022-2023 school year needed remediation. However, as a result of our joint efforts, only 4% of learners required additional remediation after their work. This is demonstrated by teacher Jonessa Dubria and her students. Jonessa teaches at Busog Primary School, a last-mile school in the mountains of Valderrama Antique. On average, if you believe this, it takes her 7 hours to get from town to school to teach the indigenous Arayan Bukidnon people. Recognizing the absence of books in the local language, Jonessa underwent training from USAID to develop early grade learning materials. As a result, she was able to author 3 Kinaray stories. She also launched a mobile library using a cart pulled by Carabao and went around to communities so she could encourage school children to read. I'm happy to share that USAID was able to donate 100 books for this initiative. Through Jonessa's efforts, 83% of learners achieved early grade reading skills by July, showcasing the transformative impact of dedicated educators. All of us in the room are here because of those dedicated educators. These are just one of many joint investments with DepEd that sets children on a firmer path to become more active members of society. Our collaborative efforts are aimed not just at satisfying an urgent educational demand, but also at laying the groundwork for lifelong learning and adaptability. It's for these reasons that USAID is pleased to support this 3-day event. We are excited to engage education stakeholders and explore opportunities how we can further support DepEd's goal of addressing challenges in education, particularly in early grade learning. As we mark the International Day of Education, I would like to reiterate the U.S. government's commitment to investing in a future in which quality education is not a privilege, but a fundamental right for all children. As partners in prosperity, we will continue to work hand in hand with all of you to make a lasting, positive difference in the lives of Filipino students and contribute to a more equitable and sustainable society. Thank you and mabuhay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Washburn. Now, for another celebratory message, may we call on Mr. Gustavo Gonzalez, Resident Coordinator and Humanitarian Coordinator, United Nations, Philippines.
Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines and Secretary of Education, Assistant Secretary Maria Teresa Almojuela, Undersecretary Gina Gonong, my dear friend, USAID Mission Director Brian Washburn, Regional Director of UNESCO, Maki Hayashikawa, and UNESCO Philippines National Commission Secretary General Ivan Henares, colleagues, experts, advocates for education, representatives from the international community. A very pleasant morning. Magandang umaga sa inyo lahat. Assalamu alaikum. Let me first thank the Department of Education for rallying once again what we can consider as friends of education to celebrate the International Day of Education. And today, as it was highlighted by the previous speakers, is the 6th day where the United Nations General Assembly decided to celebrate and to gather all partners, governments, member states in this International Day of Education. Perhaps we can ask ourselves why it took too much time, the fact of recognizing that we need to celebrate something that is at the heart of a nation and at the heart of any development agenda. And the theme of this year's event is Education in Transformative Times, making early grade learning contribute to lasting peace. And I think that all of us, we agreed that this title captured very well the challenges that we are collectively facing these days. And truly, we are in the middle of disruptive times, if we would like to use a diplomatic word to describe what is happening, as many circumstances are challenging our sense of solidarity. Many circumstances are challenging the way that we work together as a collective community, because we are seeing a surge of violent conflicts in many parts of the world, together with a rise in racism, xenophobia, and discrimination. And this is happening in a context of a senseless and suicidal war against nature, which is compromising our most basic aspiration of a sustainable future for all. And at the same time, technology is moving faster than our capacity to reflect, to regulate, and to correct, as is in the case of artificial intelligence, which certainly presents transformative opportunities for education, but is also giving rise to unforeseen and unintended challenges and risks, particularly in the context of rampant mis- and disinformation that reinforces biases, divisions, and fuels, as we see, discrimination. If education remains the most powerful weapon that we can use to change the world, as Nelson Mandela said time ago, it makes a lot of sense that we place education at the heart of any sustainable and inclusive development agenda. And in this regard, I must congratulate the Department of Education, which has already taken concrete steps towards transforming the Philippines education system, particularly in the wake of backslides caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The Department of Education, with its partners, has successfully launched, as we know, the Basic Education Development Plan, the National Learning Recovery Program, and the Matatatag Agenda, also in fulfillment of the country's commitment at the Transforming Education Summit, you remember, in 2022. And this initiative provides a strong foundation for the Philippines' participation and contribution at the upcoming UN Summit of the Future that will take place in September in New York, September of this year, which include as one of the elements of the agenda, crafting a new vision for learning based on strengthened international cooperation. And in this context, as a representative of the United Nations, I would like to reaffirm the United Nations commitment to support the department's continuing efforts to push for these reforms, which would help foster a culture of peace. This commitment is reflected in the new United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework that was signed on the 24th of October last year, that represents the first cooperation instrument within the context of the UN reform that is expected to bring a coordinated and consistent support to the government, particularly the Department of Education, in terms of education as part of the acceleration of the SDGs. Under this new cooperation framework, we will focus, as I mentioned, on education as a central component of one of the three pillars of the cooperation framework. And this pillar is human capital development, inclusiveness, and resilience. Over the next 5 years, the United Nations system in the Philippines, supported by a valuable contribution of development partners, many of you are here, and we have, of course, USAID that is championing this support to education, will continue providing technical assistance, policy advisory support, and share global and regional knowledge on quality, inclusive, right-based education at all levels. So, dear partners, Vice President, let me wish you a very productive debate on International Day of Education. Your voices, your ideas are very much needed to transform education and ensure a bright and peaceful future for present and future generations. Thank you so much. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gonzalez. To give us another celebratory message, let us call on Assistant Secretary Maria Teresa Almojuela of the Department of Foreign Affairs, United Nations, and International Organizations.
Excellency, Honorable Vice President and Secretary for Education, Sara C. Duterte, Undersecretary Gonong, Assistant Secretary Ruby Torrio, UN Resident Coordinator Mr. Gustavo Gonzalez, USAID Mission Director Ryan Washburn, colleagues in government, members of the Diplomatic Corps, partners in the UN agencies and international organizations, partners from the academe, the development sector, and the civil society. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. I am truly honored to represent the Department of Foreign Affairs in this distinguished meeting in celebration of the International Day of Education. We find meaning in such commemorative events through contemplating our progress in achieving quality education for all as we chart the path forward to achieve even loftier goals in the future. There are no two ways to say this. The world, as already mentioned by the UN representative, faces a global crisis in education. Poverty and hunger, natural disasters, climate change, and inadequate infrastructure and have hindered access to education for thousands, if not millions, of students across the world, including in the Philippines. This crisis has especially been aggravated by the pandemic. To exacerbate matters, one barrier to education has emerged more prominently in the past few years. Many regions across the globe are experiencing a surge in violent conflict that has disproportionately affected children. In the midst of these ongoing conflicts, countless children have had to flee their homes, witnessing their schools destroyed and which have denied them their right to education. This vicious cycle has begun, and the lack of peace has hindered the proper education of young people across the world. Education serves as a foundation for peace by fostering understanding, tolerance, and critical thinking skills that empower individuals to navigate tensions nonviolently and contribute to the creation of progressive, prosperous, and harmonious societies. Recognizing the vital link between education and peace, the UN has declared the theme of this year's International Day of Education as Learning for Lasting Peace. Partners, allies, advocates, administrators, and educators, we are all being called to action to deliver transformative education to achieve lasting peace. I extend my sincerest congratulations to the Department of Education for effectively responding to this call through the recently launched Matatag K-10 curriculum. Matatag Agenda aims to make the Philippines' basic education curriculum relevant by producing competent, job-ready, responsible, and active citizens, and to promote learner well-being through inclusive education. The Matatag curriculum also embeds the culture of peace by integrating peace competencies such as social awareness, value for diversity, the promotion of nonviolent actions, and conflict resolution. These are precisely the elements required to ensure transformative education that leads to peace. I'm also proud to share the Philippines' efforts to push for an inclusive global education agenda for lasting peace in the context of our work in the United Nations. Last year, the Philippines co-sponsored the UN General Assembly resolution on education for sustainable development in the framework of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which was adopted last December 2023. The Philippines has also recently signed last October, as already mentioned by the UN representative, the United Nations Strategic Cooperation Framework, or the SDCF, which charts the areas of our cooperation with the UN system in the next 5 years from 2024, this year, up to 2028. This new generation framework is anchored upon our national priorities as summed up in the Philippine Development Plan and Ambisyon Natin. It brings to the fore the best practices that have enabled UN programs to achieve meaningful impact on the lives of the Filipinos, and also reforms in the UN development system aimed at fostering national ownership, synergy, and coordination of UN programs in the country. I am pleased to note that education is at the center of the SDCF, including among the very specific SDCF programs is the improvement of our capacity to provide inclusive, resilient, safe, and quality learning environments at all education and training levels, as well as bringing educational goals, impact, and expertise down to the local level, including to those in geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas. This opens new pathways for strong, concrete, and meaningful partnerships with the UN to create transformative outcomes in our education sector for our people. Through a more inclusive approach to education, we are able to empower individuals to be agents of peace in our communities. This is very important for the Philippines, with a very privileged demographic of having over 1/3 of our population is composed of young people below the age of 15. Truly, our youth are our treasure, our inspiration, future, who will also carry the legacies of our nation and also continue the good global citizenship of the Philippines in the world stage and also in the region as the first Asian republic. Our work is far from done, and the Department of Foreign Affairs will continue to work with partners such as the Department of Education to make sure that we are inspired to work more for our people para sa bagong Pilipinas and to support a more humane and equal world that enjoys peace and human rights and dignity for everyone. Thank you and good morning to all.
Thank you very much, ASEC Almuela. Once again, thank you so much, USAID, UNRC, and UNIO for celebrating the IDE with us today. We deeply appreciate your presence in today's event.
Ang tanging may pamamaan ako'y edukasyong Pilipino. Tinuturong galing at talino para maabot ang pangarap mo. Ang tanging handog ko sa'yo'y edukasyong Pilipino. Diskarteng mula sa puso, mamamangha ang mundo. Matatag na mga guro, matatag sa mga pagsubok, matatag na mga mag-aaral, matatag na talino'y umiiral. Hinaharap ang hirap, walang takot sumugod, humahanap ng solusyon, ipaglaban ang edukasyon. Kabataang Pilipino, Muslim o Kristiyano, lahat ng paniniwala, lahat ng katutubo, may kapansanan, iba man kasarian. Ang ating pag-aaral ay ating karapatan. Ang ating pag-aaral, pang-ahon sa kahirapan. Matatag na mga guro, matatag sa mga pagsubok, matatag na mga mag-aaral, matatag na talino'y umiiral. Hinaharap ang hirap, walang takot sumugod, humahanap ng solusyon, ipaglaban ang edukasyon. Ang tanging alay ko sa'yo'y edukasyong Pilipino. Matapat ng pamamaraan, maunlad na kinabukasan.
Department of Education, Bansang Makabata, Batang Makabansa.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines and Secretary of the Department of Education, Honorable Sara Z. Duterte.
Thank you. Please take your seats. Your Excellencies, mga kababayan, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum. Madayaw, mayong adlaw, kaninyong tanan. Magandang araw sa inyong lahat. Good day to everyone. to transform education in the present, to enable an environment that provides our children the best education possible, to work together for an educational system that is inclusive, accessible, relevant. For these core goals, we gather to recommit ourselves as we mark the International Day of Education. I thank our stakeholders, ambassadors from various embassies, ministers of education, and local and international partners for joining us today. This International Day of Education serves as a resounding call to action, urging us all, individuals, civil society members, and policymakers to unite within our communities and champion the cause of providing our children with the finest primary and secondary education possible. Within the Department of Education, we have received the results of the 2022 Program for International Student Assessment, or PISA. The findings are indicators of what we need to get done. And these results have ignited an even fiercer determination within us to enhance our education system. With more clarity and focus, we are ready to address the specific actions that demand immediate attention, even as we strengthen our collaborative efforts to elevate our educational system. In the face of an array of challenges, from natural disasters to socioeconomic adversities, the Philippine basic education system remains steadfast. We must intensify our current interventions and take decisive actions to ensure that every child has access to a liberating, relevant, and inclusive education. In light of these challenges, the Philippines urges educators, stakeholders, and local and international partners to unite. Let's reaffirm our shared commitment to make education a basic right, a public benefit, and a key to personal and social growth. Together, we aim for a brighter future focused on building strong and confident learners na sana ay maging matatag sila. Today is a timely opportunity to renew our call to everyone, educators, stakeholders, and local and international partners. Let us work together. Let us join our efforts and renew our commitment to promote education as a fundamental right, a means for public good, and a tool for personal and social progress. Our goal of enabling a better future for everyone is anchored on producing resilient learners. Last year, the Department of Education unveiled the Matatag Agenda, Bansang Makabata, Batang Makabansa, as the key to resolving basic education challenges. 7 action points were crafted to reinforce and support the implementation of the Matatag Agenda through policy interventions. First, prepare our learners for the future. As we reshape our education system, let's prepare them for leadership, nurture their resilience, and inspire their creativity in safe schools and communities, regardless of their gender, religion, language, ethnicity, or financial background. There is an urgent need for our learners to explore and participate fully and freely in local, national, or even global communities, for them to be exposed to diverse viewpoints and experiences. This will also enable a deeper appreciation of their unique Filipino identity. As stated in our Basic Education Development Plan 2030, we want our Filipino learners to be holistically developed and acquire 21st century skills that will be their armor in the near future. They should learn and take pride in their national identity and their being makabansa. We introduced the Matatag curriculum and a revised K-10 curriculum under the K-12 program. We concentrated on key skills like reading, math, and socio-emotional skills, especially for disadvantaged students. This curriculum also emphasizes teaching values and character development in line with the Good Manners and Right Conduct and Values Education Act. Second, bring our learners back to the dynamic environment for learning, interaction, and discussion. To ensure they are well prepared for the future and gain 21st century skills, we must reopen all our schools for in-person classes. We've already started this process by bringing back full in-person classes in November 2022. This allows them to enhance their knowledge and social skills in school. Third, provide every opportunity for inclusive and equity to our learners, inclusiveness and equity. As we focus on preparing them for the future and their overall development, we must make sure that everyone, especially the vulnerable and marginalized, gets a fair chance. In a diverse country like the Philippines, we need to teach cultural awareness in our curriculum. We are also working on giving more opportunities to young kids in their early years of learning. Transformative education should benefit everyone, not just a few, and we are implementing policies to prevent violence and discrimination in our schools. Fourth, fast-track the creation of an inclusive, equitable, gender-responsive, digital learning ecosystem for all. We understand how important it is for all children to have equal access to education. This is why we are working to make sure Indigenous peoples' education students have more access to their cultural education. Improve special needs programs for special needs education students and provide relevant education for madrasa education program students in public schools. We're also adding the K-12 basic education curriculum to private madaris schools. In addition, it is crucial that our education equips our students with digital skills and digital citizenship awareness so they can use technology wisely and effectively. We have teamed up with internet providers to bring these technologies and digital tools to our schools in a way that is helpful for both teachers and students. Fifth, expand and empower our teacher force. We deeply appreciate the dedication and passion of our teachers, and we want them to feel supported as they work towards our students' future. To ensure this, we have already initiated several measures. We offer professional development programs to help them grow, reduce their administrative workload by hiring more staff, and provide protection through the GSIS-issued personal accident insurance policy in collaboration with the government service insurance system. Sixth, reimagine governance to begin with the people, especially the learners. We envision a transformative approach to governance that prioritizes the active participation of our people, with special focus on our learners. This involves actively involving students in meaningful dialogues to understand their perspectives, gather their unique insights, learn from their experiences, and identify best practices for their engagement in public and civic affairs. Towards this end, the DepEd conducted the Learners Convergence 2023 to craft the National Action Plan for Learner Participation in July of last year. This has become the platform to mobilize learner-centered campaigns and initiatives to make a significant impact on the country's basic education system. 7, secure sufficient funding for education priorities. Education continues to have a fair share of the national budget, although not quite enough every year. And we have been able to work for an increase in our budget allocation for 2024. This augmented funding will empower us to advance critical initiatives and fulfill our core mission of ensuring accessible, forward-looking, pertinent, and high-quality education for all. Furthermore, we are actively involving communities and local governments in a collaborative effort to bolster investments in education, thereby securing a brighter future for our students. These 7 actions and commitments guide our way forward as we work for our children to have the education they deserve and need, to open up more opportunities and enable a better future for every Filipino child. I invite all our stakeholders, ambassadors, education ministers, and local and international partners to expand our relationships and collaborations as we work to give our youth every opportunity to learn. Together, let us reaffirm our dedication to enhancing our education system and our commitment to uphold the interests and the future of our learners. Mga kababayan, patuloy po tayo maging matatag tungo sa pagtaguyod ng isang bansang makabata at mga batang makabansa. Ang lahat ng ginagawa natin ay para sa Diyos, sa bayan, at sa pamilyang Pilipino. Syukran.
Thank you very much, VP Sara. At this juncture, we will have a photo opportunity with the Vice President. Let us start with a group photo on stage. May we invite the ambassadors and our distinguished guests to please come up the stage. Thank you very much. You may now return. Okay. All right, thank you very much. You may now return to your seats. We would now like to request the audience to be ready for the crowd shot. As our Vice President and guests will come down, may we request everyone to please stand for the crowd shot. Thank you very much. Once again, thank you so much, Vice President and Secretary Sara Duterte, for gracing this event with your presence. Thank you as well to our esteemed guests who celebrated with us in observance of the International Day of Education 2024.